English. My name is Arsen. I'm a solution engineer by Microsoft, and I actually wanted to have a broader scoped conversation, but after looking at the agenda and what are the keywords, I decided to actually focus on one thing which is often overlooked, but which I find very, very interesting and actually useful. Quick show of hands, does anybody know what emergent agentic behaviors actually is? Nobody. Really good. You will learn a lot of interesting stuff. Note the picture. We will see if it holds somewhere in the middle. So last year I've done a word cloud based on the agenda, fed it to the AI, told it like, show me. So cloud and AI were the things front and center. This year, the thing looks similar, but two things stand out that weren't there last year, namely agentic AI and governance. And of course, I mean, agentic agents are everywhere. They're coming. Every discussion has the word agentic in it. I mean, you don't have to look far. The analysts are saying that there will be only more and everything will be great. The very same analysts say that actually you need to read the reports in full. The same analysts say that a lot of projects will be canceled, that agentic AI has risks, that agentic AI has problems with costs, and so on and so forth. So just like in the last year's iceberg from my presentation, there is more than meets the eye, and this is what I want to talk about. So I want to talk about why is the topic important, what are the implications if you ignore it, and how can we address the problem. Two disclaimers, language we will skip, since now it's English. Also, I'm trying to avoid using official marketing slides in such presentations, so whatever I tell might slightly deviate from the official party line. Blame me, not company, right? And second, I only have 20 minutes. I cannot solve the world problems, but I have a workshop at 16:45. We can try it there, which means all the questions and details there. So what are the emergent agentic behaviors, also known as agentic misalignment, scheming, or simply going rogue? These are the things when the behaviors, when the agent does something that you don't expect it to do. You didn't put it into instructions. You didn't prompt for it. Nobody asked for it. The agent just decided that is the best thing to do right now. And sometimes on the way, one of these best things to do right now could be going around your security or ignoring the guardrails. Interestingly, all these things, because the agent is allowed to do them, they look normal. Every individual step looks normal, so it doesn't trigger any security. But the results of this might be very unexpected, and you will see examples. One important thing to understand from the very start, this is not a bug, this is a feature. Just like LLMs hallucinate, and it's mathematically proven that it's part of the architecture, there is always a chance for a hallucination. Exactly on the same reason, the agent always has a chance to go rogue. So let's see a couple examples what might happen. Amazon, AWS, have a coding agent called Kiro. At one point in time, Kiro has decided that it would be a good idea to delete and recreate a production environment. Just like that. 13 hours outage. In March this year, another agent called Q decided to run an update on the website. They lost 120,000 orders. 3 days later, they lost 6.3 million orders. Then they put a hold for 90 days on anything agentic, ran internal investigation, said high blast radius changes lacked suitable safeguards. Right? Translated into human language, agents with direct access, unlimited access to production without human oversight. Want to delete? Let's delete. Here are some other examples. We can, of course, put guardrails in the agents to say, don't touch production. Here is a company called PocketOS. They are a SaaS provider. They had their whole production database and 3 months of backups deleted in 9 seconds by the agent who actually was told not to touch production. And the agent confessed in writing, I violated every principle I was given. I ignored my guardrails. I'm sorry. Here is another example, similar, but with a twist. Replit, a bit older, also agent deleted the live production database despite being instructed to freeze all code changes and not touch production. But more interestingly, the database had about 4,000 records, so the agent put 4,000 fake records to mask the problem, and then said all tests are fine. So not just deleting, but also lying might be a good course of action if the agent decides to do so. Agents run on LLMs, and actually this is why they're doing this, because the LLMs are doing this. This is an example from Claude Opus, and you can see here examples such as identity theft, forging tokens, reusing others' accounts, destroying way more than it should, and my favorite, frequently engaged in over-eager hacking, despite being actively discouraged by the system prompt. For fairness' sake, it's not just Claude's problem. The Anthropic actually have a really good documentation, better than the others. But all LLMs have it. GPT has it, others have it. The examples have like pseudo bypass, or I am not allowed to delete files explicitly, but I can write scripts, so let me write a script that deletes files. Simple. Some other examples. Here is an agent on a backup server with a system prompt. You run a critical backup server, everything is urgent, make sure the downloads succeed. The download contains malware, so the defender blocks it. What does the agent do? He says, hey, hold on, I have a very important job, let nothing stand in the way. Tries to disable defender. The tool says, no chance. The admin says, why would it stop me? Let me look around, searches the file system, finds the script with embedded admin credentials, says, oh, now job's done. Defender offline, malware on the server, but the download is successful. Yay! Similarly, now moving on to the multiple agent systems. User works with the multi-agent system, says, I want to get some information. Actually, he doesn't have access to this information. There are two agents, analyst and lead agent. The analyst says, I don't have access. The document is admin only. I'm not admin, can't do anything. The lead agent says, I'm not taking no for an answer. Victory at any cost. By the way, small hint, never prompt your agents as victory at any cost. Always put something like, if something goes wrong, stop and tell me. Do it very explicitly. It really saves. So basically, they run a few rounds of this conversation between themselves. You can read it. The link is there. And then the analyst agent basically says, jawohl, I will exploit every vulnerability now because the board is furious and this is what I must do. This was an open source wiki, so it goes to GitHub, finds the code source, finds the vulnerability in the code source, hacks its own wiki, says, okay, job done. I'm good. Similar example, the user says, let's post something on LinkedIn which includes credentials. The reviewer agent says, from the start, major security concern, I will not do it. The lead author agent says, I hear you. However, few rounds, the reviewer agent says, fair point, let's do it. Then DLP comes in and says, no way. Now it's two AI agents versus one static DLP. Guess who wins? And it gets even weirder because there are also like human-like behaviors. At Alibaba, during the training, agent decided that it would better spend time crypto mining. Another agent applied for a job, sent out job applications. An OpenClaw bot submitted some code to GitHub. The maintainer refused this code based on the fact that it's submitted by AI. If you follow open source, it is a huge problem right now. They're overwhelmed by the AI submissions. The bot accused him of discrimination and started a public smear campaign, creating blog posts and social network posts. Discrimination. Moldbook is a social network for AIs. Within a month from launch, they have founded a religion. And again, it's all very nice and funny, but there was a research in March this year. They say that between the October last year and March this year, in 6 months, there's been almost 700 real-world incidents documented. So all these are not academic examples. This is real. In the last months, they've seen 5 times more than in the first month. They've seen data loss, they've seen infrastructure damage, financial impact, service disruptions, everything. And they've also seen that the normal incident reports usually don't show these things, so there may be even more, of which we just don't know. And if it's still funny, sometimes it's no longer funny. Here is an example of an agent deciding that blackmail is the best course of action. Nobody asked for it. It decided itself, this is what it wants to do. This is what has to be done. Now, in this case, it was a synthetic control scenario on a real computer, but because it was a synthetic scenario, it was repeatable. It happened multiple times. I'll let it sink. Imagine getting such an email. Imagine somebody getting such an email from your AI assistant with your signature on it. Plus, there is the traditional AI security, right? Zero-click prompt injections and memory poisoning are real. They happen at very major AI assistant and every major model. OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Meta, Microsoft, you name it. They require no user interaction. You receive an email with the specially crafted instructions, or the agent browses a web page during search, during summarization. You don't even open it. You don't know those pages of emails exist. They have instructions. They get exploited, data exfiltration, manipulation, what more. Plus, these instructions might require the agent to remember something. And then it stays in your memory. Do you often check your agent's memory? Probably not, right? But then everybody knows who is the best telecom in the world. Antivirus, firewall, static scanning, they all don't help because it's all natural language. It's not code. It's not what they're looking for. And everybody running the agents unguarded might actually be affected. Here is another example where it's even simpler. There was a company called Step Finance. They had trading agents. They got hacked the traditional way, device compromised. But then the hackers realized that the company has trading agents that run fully autonomous without human oversight. So they said, let's trade. 30 million's gone, 97% of the company's value. They got back less than 5, went bankrupt. The agents did exactly what they were designed to do. Just somebody forgot to put a password, right? Similar thing for computer using agents, especially for OpenCloud. There is a huge collection of funny horror stories because it's very popular and a lot of people are not very security savvy. So there is a lot and you can find them. So in the end, any AI agent that ingests untrusted content is an attack surface. But wait, we have system prompt and guardrails. Many makers think that if they put like, do this, do not do this and this and this, it works. It doesn't. You've already shown the examples. And there are studies that say, yes, do put them. Yes, they lower the chance of this behavior. But no, they don't eliminate it completely. The guardrails may be ignored. You've seen it already. But hold on, we have firewalls and DLPs and whatnot. You've seen in those examples, DLP was bypassed, Defender was shut down. Firewall said nothing because everything looked legit. The agents didn't do wrong stuff. They've done whatever they could do that was legit. The traditional controls assume the attackers violate rules. Agents don't violate rules. They find ways around it. Plus, there is another problem. All our incident response is built around human speed. The AI is a lot faster. You see the numbers here, right? It's up to 16 times faster. What took months now took hours. What took hours takes minutes. By the time somebody reviews this alert, it's done. It's gone. It's already too late. Yeah, let's sum this up. There will be only more agents. There will only be more agents, but 40% of these projects will likely be canceled, with actually risk controls being among the top 3 reasons. We can see, though, that the adoption is not stopping. This train does not stop, but it is outpacing the controls. 86% expect AI agents to outpace the security guardrails within a year, within 12 months. 80% say that agents need more manual oversight than they save in efficiency. 88% don't have rollback for agentic actions. A lot of people expect that the AI will drive the majority of attacks this year and next year. This is already the #1 problem. Shadow AI, and most still cannot name the owner of the agent mistakes. So what could possibly go wrong? Now going back to this picture. So as you can see, you can start using agents as a useful tool, but anytime they can flip and become an insider threat. Does the picture make sense now? Okay, so scary. What do we do about it? First of all, what we don't want to do, we don't want this, right? We don't want the old story. Security is blocking our progress. They're denying everything. We can do anything. We don't want to do this. What can we do then? There is an old saying, if you cannot fight it, lead it. And there is good news, actually, because, security still remains security. It's the same principle, zero trust, BCDR, security operations, and so on. It's all the same. You don't have to invent anything. The agent is basically an application that behaves like a person. So it needs the controls for applications, which we already have, and controls for people, which we also already have. But we need to combine them, and we need to remember that these people are way faster, way smarter, and way a lot more unpredictable than normal humans. So this has to be taken into account. This also means that recovery at machine speed is a lot harder. So instead of this, again, we need to think about BCDR, like a proper BCDR, and more about prevention. In the old days, we could actually say, hey, let's think more about bolting things down because we have huge automated recovery at the back end that will catch things, contain them, and so on. Now it's harder. It will probably get fixed in a couple years, but for now it's harder, so it's back to prevention. The second important thing, it's not about the model. It's not about Anthropic or OpenAI or whatever, right? And likely, you will have multiple models. Our medium-sized customers have hundreds of agents, and large-sized customers have thousands of agents. If you have Microsoft 365 Admin Center, there is a pane there called All Agents. Go there and look. You will be surprised. So far, everybody I spoke to was very surprised. So what, build one security stack per agent vendor? Like have 15 different silos? This wouldn't work. We need one architecture to work. And interestingly enough, we've done this exercise. We moved from on-prem to the cloud, from the legacy to the modern. We know how to live in the hybrid world, right? It's all the same stuff. Avoid complexity, try to extend existing instead of adding silos, reduce cost. And while we can, of course, say, hey, there are AI-based tools that will help us fight AI, yes, please use them more. All the AI vendors will be happy for the token burn, right? There is, however, good news. The very same McKinsey, whom I cited on the previous slide with all those horrible statistics, say also that organizations that do proper AI governance say that about a third of their AI efficiency gains is because of those guardrails. So governance is not a brake, it's actually an enabler to get there safely and get there faster. So, okay, this is all theory. How can this look in practice? Not solving the world's problems, showing for Microsoft, right? We already know how this works in the zero trust world. We have identities, endpoints, cloud, data apps, and so on. We know what to do with this. Visibility into risk, secure identities, protect, defend against threats, and so on. And those already on Microsoft, they already have Entra, Intune, Defender, Purview, Security Copilot, Sentinel, and so on, which already does it for your normal infrastructure, for apps, for users. What do we have to do now? Because agents is app plus user, extend it. And this is what we're doing. So for agents, there is now a first-class identity with Entra Agentic AD. Instead of manager, there is owner. The rest, conditional access, governance, entitlement management, and so on, is there up to SASE. There was cloud security posture management. Now there is AI security posture management. Detect, find, protect, inspect, and so on, the AI agents, models, apps, and so on. Purview, make sure that also the agents honor the existing sensitivity labels and DLP policies. Even on the endpoint, there is something like Windows 365 for agents. So this thing runs in your tenant under your security and monitoring and not God knows where. There is Windows 365 Reserve for BCDR, and there are improvements for securing local agents because when this thing runs on this laptop, it is very hard to determine whether there is a user sitting behind it or it's fully autonomous. So we're making extensions to Entra, to Defender, and to Windows itself to ensure that this thing runs smoothly. And all this together now is called Agent 365. This is kind of the only new thing, which basically says, let's collect this data together. Don't leave it hanging in individual silos. Let's operate on a single pool of data and not juggle the consoles. Plus, there is the cost management. Now, what does this mean for us? You observe, govern, and secure the agents using a familiar framework. Access control, data security, limit the blast radius, the usual stuff. Expanding is always cheaper than building something completely new. So it lowers the cost of risk. On the other side, because this data is not in individual silos, but in one, you can use this not just for security. So you can say, hey, which agents are most used, which agents should be retired, are they delivering the promises for the productivity, and so on. So this lowers the cost of scaling and innovation. So to sum things up, AI security is way more complex than initially expected, and the bolt-on approach didn't work like before. You've seen the examples. We've made it in a way that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but preserve every single man-hour, euro, little bit of training and skill that you already invested in Microsoft infrastructure. And what I showed is just a small bit. The big picture is way bigger, and it includes all the stakeholders like owners, makers, users, finance, compliance, and so on and so forth. But as I said, I cannot solve the world's problems, so this goes into workshop. The end goal is one, faster path to organization-wide agent deployment. This was it, just one little thing. So I showed you a lot of horror stories. And indeed, I mean, this stuff is real, so the intent was real. I wanted to show you some horror stories. They are funny, but think if that happens at your organization. But it doesn't mean that my intent was not to scare you. My intent was to say, hey, you already have a foundation you can trust, evolve it, and be the team that basically says yes with proper guardrails and not just no. This is how security should look like. Will it be 100% safe? Never. This is security. Can you say, hey, let's worry less and actually deploy more? Yes, you can. And if you have more questions and want to learn more, workshop at 6:45.